Okay, good morning to everyone. My goodness, isn't this a wonderful occasion to have a face-to-face AGM? So it's, yeah, we should have a round of applause, I think, because I tell you, it has been a very, very difficult few years that we've all had to try and manage a whole range of things, which I'm going to talk to you about. But I'm going to call this AGM, our 66th AGM, a hybrid, because out there in cyberspace, in Cyberland, we have at least 70 people who have joined us today. So adding all of the people that are here and adding those people out there in our new world, this is the largest attendance to any AGM since I've been involved with Carers New South Wales. So another achievement. All right, folks, for those people who don't know me, my name is Joan Hughes and I have the privilege of being the President of Council on the Ageing New South Wales. I warmly welcome you to the 66th Annual General Meeting of Council on the Ageing New South Wales. A few things, just housekeeping. Can you please turn your phones to silent or turn them off? In terms of bathrooms, you would have noticed them as you came into the registration area. And if there is an emergency, the only precaution really is don't use the lift, and the emergency stairs are on the exit to the left, but we won't have one of those. The first thing I would like to do this morning is I acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land where we meet this morning. And in this area of Sydney, we're on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and I pay respect to elders past, present and emerging. And I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people with us today. In the spirit of recognition and reconciliation, I also acknowledge that the traditional custodians of this land and their connections to land, sea and community is something we should all be proud of. Now we have 4 important people here. Well, you're all very important, but I would like to acknowledge our life members. So physically here today, we have 2 of our life members, Sarah Graham here, and Nirmal Hansar over here. And online out there, I'll wave to them, we have Pete Newman and Val Fells. So a big welcome to our life members. But of course, I don't have to establish that we have a quorum because we have the biggest quorum that we've ever had. So, but just in terms of the Constitution, 15 financial members constitute a quorum, so I can establish that we have a quorum here today. When a motion is required, so when I say, would someone please to pass a motion and second a motion, in order that to be done properly by our Constitution, that person who does that for me has to be a financial member. So if you put your hand up and just say your name, and then we'll be able to register that in the minutes. We have received a number of apologies today, and they have been recorded already, and they're in our minutes, and they will be recorded in our minutes when we finish the AGM today. So can I have a mover and seconder who is a financial member to accept the apologies? Name? Elaine Todd moved it. Penelope Nelson seconded. Thank you. The minutes of the 65th AGM, which we did by Zoom of last year, you've all been sent copies of the 65th AGM of those minutes. Can I have a mover and seconder who attended the AGM to accept the minutes as a true and accurate record of the meeting? Oh, Laurie moved and Stephen second. Thank you. All right, now my report. Well, as I've been thinking about the things to share with you this week, putting the report together, I'll have to tell you, I was really angry and I was bitterly disappointed about things that have occurred. I'm still very concerned about issues to do with things happening in Australia and of course overseas, but I thought to myself, I do need to try and balance it with some positives. And for those people who know me, I'm usually a fairly positive person, but I don't shy away from those things which we all need to be aware of. I know that all of you are aware of these things, but I just want to go through some of them today. So some people say, oh, that's Joan having a bit of a rant. Well, I'll have a bit of a rant, and then I'm going to talk to you about some of the achievements, of course, of the last year that we've got through and managed to do some great things. So I think for me, you know, I've had a few dear friends who have died this year, so that's always a bit of a wake-up call, isn't it, about your own mortality and how you manage that. But I did have a close friend whose mother died of COVID in an aged care facility. So I'm just interested to know how many people here today have had COVID. Put your hand up if you've had COVID. And keep your hand up if you've lost someone to COVID. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, it's a puzzle to me that you get on a train in Sydney or wherever you might live and people are not wearing masks. Do you find that now? Oh, yeah. And we know that COVID is still with us. You know that, don't you? COVID is still with us. It has not gone away, and it won't go away until things change regarding vaccinations, but most importantly, regarding people taking those health precautions that we all got used to. Now, you think about it, when COVID first happened and we had to try and manage it and we had to listen, and we had to listen carefully to those health authorities to say, what should we be doing? And guess what? Australians were mostly fairly compliant. People went out and got vaccinated. People started wearing masks. People did the physical distancing. People stayed at home if they were unwell. People got tested. And then suddenly, especially this year, things started to disappear around what I would call correct information. And people then, I think, got tired of having to do these things. We all got tired. You know, there was sort of a COVID tiredness that took over people. And, you know, a lot of my friends and neighbours would say, well, it's gone away, Joan. And I'd say, well, it actually has not gone away. And so I would encourage you and with your friends and neighbours to try and keep doing the things that you've learned to do. And I'd have to say that I am very tired of government saying, and this has been the message this year, it's your individual responsibility to do these things. Older people know what their individual responsibilities are. We did that through last year, the year before, and this year. So look, I just hope that that you can encourage all of those good COVID practices that we're getting used to revisit them and make sure that we try and keep as safe as we can for you, for your family, for your neighbours, and for those people who you love. So we have had another year where we've seen the impact of what I call misinformation and fake news, rather than the fact-checking, the truth-telling. We've seen political decisions based on what's popular and what will keep MPs in power, rather than government policies based on the truth, ethics, and importantly, the evidence. So just to remind everyone, and I remind younger generations, that the government's role is to keep us safe and to keep us well informed. It causes many of us, as I said before, to become anxious and uncertain. And these anxieties and uncertainties are now becoming, of course, a global problem. There's so much division in the world, and I've just luckily come back from overseas and travelled in the US for a few weeks. And the division in that country has just got worse and worse between those people who think they have a right to do X, Y, and Z, and they have an individual right to do X, Y, and Z at the detriment of their fellow citizens. So I do think, I don't know, there's no easy answer to this, but I think the values of inclusion, fairness, trust in our institutions and systems need a good kick up the bum, I'd call it, in inverted commas. We need to kickstart those values that we know make for a cohesive society, make for happy families, and make for safe neighbourhoods. These challenges have been very significant for everyone this year. And then now we've had to face things like floods, food shortages, increasing cost of living, this stubborn pandemic called COVID, global unrest, and the general uncertainty seems to now be a constant in our lives. So our COTA, all of the people here at COTA, all our board directors, our staff and volunteers, our heart goes out to all of you through this time. And we know that if we stay together, stay connected, and stay connected to the things that are important in life, then we can do better for older people across New South Wales. And of course, many of those people have been impacted by floods, by fires, by not having secure housing. And those people have also been impacted by what I call a poverty level that we haven't seen for quite some time. So I know that many of you have come to this AGM because of my colleague, Hugh McKay, and he will talk to us this morning about the impact of feeling alone and feeling isolated. And they're the two things that do trouble our communities, because what you don't want to feel through these times is you don't want to feel alone. You want to try and stay connected to those people that you value and that you consider highly and that you love. So the good news is I am constantly reminded about the work that we've done at COTA New South Wales. So here's the good news. We have made thousands of connections with older people, their families and communities. We have reviewed public policies, especially to do with the health and well-being of older people, to do with housing options, to do with building codes. And we continue to advocate strongly for equitable access. Housing is going to be a big issue. Work options is still a big issue. Quality and affordable healthcare and affordable energy. So they're all the policy areas that we're working hard to improve. And if any of you have had experience just recently with the health system in New South Wales, I'm sure you could share a story. And I have just recently, and I can tell you, the individuals, absolutely fine. The individual medical people that I dealt with, quality high, but there's just not enough of them. And the system has been so stretched, of course, during COVID. And we need to do something better about that. We know that we had one of the best health systems in the world, but that has been affected by those health staff having to manage COVID. And then for those people who need to access health for other reasons, as many of you would have heard in the news, have put off health checks and so on because you just can't get in to either see your GP or a medical health provider. The other good news is we're everywhere. There's 2.8 million of us, so 2.8 million people over the age of 50. And that gives us great strength in our advocacy and in our policy work. And that 2.8 million equates to 1/3 of the total population of New South Wales. Some older people own their own homes, like some of you here, I'm sure. Some people rent, and some continue to struggle to find affordable and safe housing. And that's why it's a priority for COTA New South Wales policy work at the moment. Of course, we know that older people live everywhere. We're everywhere. We live in cities, suburbs, regions and country towns and in rural areas. Some older people find it very difficult to struggle at the moment, finding it very difficult in regards to maintaining safety in their community. And I don't mean that through people breaking in or anything like that. It's more to do with the effects of climate change in their communities and the effects of floods, and prior to the floods, the fires. So, you know, when I grew up, my mum used to say to me, there's only not many things you need in life, but you do need to have safe housing. You do need to have good food. You do need to be able to access certain systems that keep you going, and we're seeing some depletion of those, and we have to get them back on track. Many of the older people that we interact with and speak with, of course, speak languages other than English, and as they get older, many of them strongly connect to the culture of their origin. And Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people, and we'll be looking at supporting the voice to Parliament. The board have approved that, and I'll be putting out a newsletter to all of you soon. But just a reminder that 4% of the total population of New South Wales are Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. And just to remind everyone that elders, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander elders, their life expectancy is 15 to 20 years less than all of us in this room. The other issue at the moment are for the younger people, so the people over 50, but even older than that who want to stay in the workforce, that is an issue. So we've got another area that we've been working on for years and years now is that whole area of older people being unemployed that still want to work. And we know that once an older person is made redundant and or leaves their workplace, but their circumstances change and they want to get back into work, if they've been out of work for 12 months or longer, it's very difficult for them to get back into paid employment. So they're just a few examples of all of the areas that we're working on with such a small team. Next year, we are going to continue to engage with you, understand your issues more, represent your issues more, and we're going to do that in some different ways, some new and creative ways that I'll keep you informed about. And it's not really that we want to do things differently. It's just this is a reflection of the changes that have happened, particularly in our communities over the last few years. And so COTA New South Wales, like older people, we're going to move a bit more with the times, doing more, expecting more, and deserving more. So report's got some of the realities of life, but I hope I've been able to share with you some of our achievements in a summarised version for the last year. So my vote of thanks, folks. Well, there's so many people to thank, but I firstly would like to say a big thank you to my fellow board directors. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 8 board directors. And they are a remarkable group of people. And of course, Nirmal and Sarah were on the board when I've been involved with COTA as well. So the board directors that are here today, my second in charge over here is Laurie. He's a deputy president. Down the front, we have Sharon Burns, who's been on the board a couple of years now. Dr. Stephen Ginsberg, who is a GP. And we have, yes, we've got apologies from a couple of others, but I would like to thank them sincerely they've got many, many skills. That's why they're on the board, but they do keep me, yes, let's give them a round of applause. The good thing about them is that they're leaders in their own right as well. And so they're on the board because of the skills they have in these days, running organisations, even though we're small. The governance and responsibilities that are required now are actually large and important, and they all know what their responsibilities are. I have a good chance of listening and learning about them every time I meet with them, so that keeps me encouraged, keeps me strong, and I suppose their commitment is high, and that's really important. They have the time and the commitment. And just to remind everyone, they're volunteers as well. So all of the time that they give to board meetings and business between board meetings, that's all done in their own time, and that needs to be acknowledged. Now, we also have some of our volunteers here that are involved in our community speakers program and our community advocates program, and I met one this morning, and then I know there's a few out in cyberspace. They're terrific people, and we do some great programs through their volunteer work as well. And I'd like to particularly acknowledge Pete Newman, who's one of our life members, who has become an advocate, and he's also one of our community speakers, and he's become an expert in the area of energy. And as I said to you, the whole issue of energy at the moment is very important, all the cost of the expense of energy. So thank you to our volunteers who are community speakers and community advocates. As I said, we have a very small staff team, and they have done really hard work, especially during the last 2.5 years, because they've had to work from home a lot. and they've had to work out how to do that efficiently. But our programs haven't suffered, so they've been rocking on, and we've been doing all of our policy work. So a big thank you to the staff, and some of them are here today. Marika over here is our new CEO, who I'll introduce soon. Megan is she's what I call the AGM guru. She's our office manager and helps the board as well. At the back we have Karen. And Karen's our policy and campaigns manager. Beside Karen is Judith. Have I missed anyone? Oh, Cam. And Cam is our, of course, and Cam ran here. No, she'd like to do some exercise with you. Cam coordinates our Living Longer, Living Stronger program, and has been with us for some time and run a really successful program. I think that's it. And then there's a few people who aren't with us today. So thank you, staff, very much for your hard work. And I'd like to also acknowledge Megan Lawson. Some of you remember who. Megan was our previous CEO, was with us for 5 years, and has moved on to bigger and brighter things in our national capital called Canberra. So we wish her all the very best. I'd also like to acknowledge our members, our supporters, our funders. And, you know, we actually operate on what I'd call the smell of an oily rag, but we need to get more money through the door in order for us to be more effective. And Laurie will talk to that when he presents the Treasurer's report. So you've made me feel better by being here today. That's a good thing. I look forward to working with you over the next 12 months so that we are an even stronger voice for people over 50 in New South Wales. We want to build what we're going to call a movement of engaged older people, because COTA New South Wales is stronger by listening and understanding your needs and taking appropriate and effective action. Remember, next year is the New South Wales election. 1 in 2 voters are now over 50, and we're not to be passed over because we're old. Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to accept my report? Sharon, name please. Oh, Elaine, sorry. It's the mask, Elaine, thank you. I'd now like to welcome our new CEO, Marika Contellis, to present her report.
Thanks so much, Joan. Lovely to meet everyone in real life, and really lovely to meet everyone online. Thank you so much for your time, but I have to say I feel like an imposter. This is week 7 for me, leading this little big organisation, and annual general meetings really are about reporting on what's happened in the last financial year. So I wasn't here, but I can tell you I have reviewed and I've spoken to people, I have read, I have met with people, I have assessed, I've questioned, probably harassed some people, and I can tell you this is what a community organisation looks like and feels like. This morning, just like Joan, she said she felt better when she met you today and saw you today. I felt better too. Because in the room today, just these little conversations, we have academics, Dr. Sarah Graham, who lectured me when I was a young social work student. Sorry, Sarah, for pointing that out. I've met with an ex-colleague who I recognise from a long time ago, Eleanor Jeffries, who is involved now with COTA, who is a doctor who worked in sexual assault. We have homemakers, we have an ex-engineer, we have people, someone who was a director of nursing at Wesley. Yep, that's right. I would just, Mary, sorry, nudge her away. There is a wealth of experience that the membership of COTA bring. And our job as a group of staff is to mine that experience, and it is really to be able to create platforms so we can make effective change. The engine room, which is the staff, are just there to serve you, not just, but we are there to serve the membership and to also serve those 2.8 million voters on the issues that matter to them. So I am really delighted to have been chosen to lead this little big organisation. More delighted to have connected with you this morning, but also looking forward to working with many of you over the next 12 months to really affect some change. Before I say goodbye, because I know that you want to know about what's happening with the money, and Laurie definitely wants to tell you, as all good AGMs must do, can I ask you, who is involved in a community organisation, sorry. Is anyone doing any work in another community organisation, golf club, or, yep, look at those hands going up. Well, you know, of course you are. Of course you are. You know they're complex beasts, right? Community organisations have to be organised and they have to be led. And whilst Joan acknowledged the board members, I want to also acknowledge the leadership of these volunteers who give up their time to steer an organisation at a time of significant challenges, particularly for older people. So to our board, led by the amazing Joan Hughes, I say thank you, and I am very excited to be working with you over the next 12 months and beyond. I know we won't always agree, but you will put me back in my box, I am sure. But I really look forward to that. But a sincere thank you to the board again. And to the amazing volunteers who I've already had an opportunity to chat to, I am eager and ready to roll. I will be absolutely coming back to you. You are the experts. Thank you for trusting in me and our colleagues, the staff, the engine room. We're here to serve. Thank you.
I'm not crying. I just got not yet. All right. Can I have a mover and a seconder to accept Marika's, the CEO's report? No more. Thank you. Yes. Well, Sarah. No. Thank you. All right. Now I have some news to share with you, which is quite sad, but I think we've also heard some better news today. So our Treasurer, Jeff Banty, has been with us for some time now, done an excellent job as the Treasurer of COTA New South Wales, but he's very unwell at the moment. And so he's an apology for this AGM. But the good news is that we found out things are moving in the right direction. So I know that all of you, even though you don't know him, I know that I'll be able to pass on your regards for his continuing better health in the next few months. So Laurie, our Deputy President, is going to present the Treasury report on behalf of Jeff Banty. Thank you, Laurie.
Thank you, Joan. I'd also like to support Joan's comments of acknowledging the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, the land on which we, traditional owners of the land on which we meet today. Yeah, thanks, Joan, for the introduction. You can see no, we'll go back one. I'd like to focus on Jeff there, who you've heard about, and he will be back bigger and stronger next year, we know. You might notice some similarities there between Jeff and I. We both wear glasses. We both save a lot of money on hair dryers and combs. And we both have a passion for golf, actually, that probably none of you would know about. So we have a lot of similarities, but there's one big difference, that Jeff is an accountant and I'm not. So I hope you will accept that the report you're getting today is going to be very much more in layman's terms than you may have received from Jeff. He has put a report in his Treasurer's report into the annual report, and I won't read all that, but I did want to focus on a couple of things that he mentioned, is that it's been in his 2 years as Treasurer and Chair of the Audit and Risk Committee. He's been found it to be a very pleasing and rewarding experience representing COTA New South Wales and the fastest growing demographic in New South Wales. Joan mentioned 2.8 million people, and we are almost all of us in the room that fit in that demographic are the fastest growing in the state. I'm regularly reminded at AGMs for COTA of my age, because I'm the same age as COTA New South Wales. So every time Joan mentions it's the whatever it is, and I could say it's 66th annual general meeting, well, that's the same year that I was born. So COTA New South Wales has been going a long time when you look at me. But I do like to think of our demographic as somewhat ageing bodies with active minds, active brains. And I think we need to be aware of that, and we need to not be silenced. We need to express our opinions and our ideas. And the fact that we might be starting to look a little bit older doesn't mean we have a lot of good new ideas. And I think we need to be conscious of that in our lives wherever we are, that we've got opinions and we need to express them. Okay, so back to finance. Now we can move on to the slides. If you can see it and go right to the bottom left-hand corner, you can see a loss there of just on $29,000. An explanation for that was compared to last year, where there was quite a significant profit. And one of the main reasons for that was actually to do with accounting standards. And I know there's at least one accountant in the room, and hopefully not too many others, and none with fancy questions, Nirmal, but there's a change in accounting standard and how some grant funding had to be expressed in the books, and therefore it moved to the balance sheet. And to that point, that created a small loss for this year. There were a number of other contributing factors, and we did self-fund a lot of projects this year that were previously funded by government. Disappointingly, the New South Wales government removed the funding for the Legal Pathways program, and it's a program that Judith, who you met earlier, has been running for some years. A fantastic program that creates an opportunity for people that can't afford to get a will, a power of attorney or enduring guardianship document at a reduced rate, thanks to the support of solicitors that provide that service at a reduced rate. The funding's been removed, and it's been the program's been supported with internal funding for some time, and unfortunately that needed to stop. The good news is that Judith's moved on to work with us on a different project, which is the Aged Care Navigator, which also has a stop to funding from the federal government, but it is moving to a new funding model through primary healthcare networks. And we're currently, not me personally, but some of the team here are working frantically looking to achieve funding through various private healthcare networks throughout, primary health networks throughout New South Wales.